So today you have two Patricks, Patrick Findaro, co-founder at Biz, also joined by Patrick Conlin, who's the president of Wayback Burgers. Patrick, thanks a lot for joining.
Thanks. I appreciate the time.
So you have a long experience in franchise, and in particular in the restaurant segment. Could you tell me a little bit about your background and graduating from Rutgers and how you ended up in the restaurant and franchising space?
I always wanted to be in my own business and started out as a teenager delivering newspapers a long time ago when people actually read newspapers, hard copies, and then worked for a guy all through junior high and high school that owned an ice cream store. And he was an entrepreneur, saw how, he was able to live his life by owning his own business. Then went to Rutgers, and my sister and brother-in-law were involved in a franchise concept on Long Island by Hofstra University. And through them, after I got out of college, I went to work for the parent company down in Atlanta for a year, and then moved back to Long Island, bought the area developer rights to Long Island, opened up.
You bought it, you're like 24 years old buying area development rights?
22. Well, it was very early on in that company's evolution of doing area development rights.
But still, I mean, I feel like you don't have like millennials these days, like signing like a contract for 10 years and be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to grind it, I'm going to build out all these locations.
Yeah. So it was interesting, and it worked out great. And we opened up some of our own. We sold franchises, awarded franchises, and did that for a long portion of my life. Was on the Area Developer Advisory Council for many years, and then an opportunity came up with Wayback Burgers. A friend of mine is the owner. And he would always say to me, when you're ready to move to Connecticut, I have a position for you. And I said, can I do it from Long Island? And he said, when you're ready to move to Connecticut. So 6 years ago, the time was right for both of us. and I packed up the truck and moved up to Connecticut. And it's been a great run, great time, great franchisees, great system. So it worked out great. It worked out terrific for me, and having a fun time.
How was it trading sandwiches for burgers?
Pretty similar. You have the same challenges, the same opportunities, the same problems. And I think probably in any franchise concept, it's just how you attack them and how you solve them. And somebody told me a long time ago, every day in probably in most businesses, but in the franchise business, you're going to come in and you have a plan of what you're going to do today, and then, something happens, and it's how you deal with those different challenges that pop up every day. But that's what also makes it interesting and fun, because every day is going to be a different day. And it's just, how you get through that and really how you help people.
Well, why there's so many things going on is people. Yeah. Like how many people are in the Wayback Burgers organization, corporate to franchisees to all their employees? There's got to be 10,000 people?
Probably not. Probably we have 170 so locations. So that's probably about 100 franchisees. And then they all have
per
their
locations.
employees.
How many W-2s per location?
Yeah, I was going to say they have all their employees. Probably W-2s. They churn out a ton of those. So I would venture to say that they probably doing a busy restaurant's probably doing about 100 a year.
Yeah. So that's a lot of people. That's awesome. It's fulfilling, I'm sure, but there's a lot of problems when you're dealing with people.
Yeah. And then the customers, the guests,
and the customers, come in the restaurant, even more.
So that's hopefully there are no problems. Those are all good,
happy faces,
good challenges when you're giving them a cheeseburger, fries, and a milkshake.
And it seems like from our research, burger brands overall, like the top line revenue is just like higher than sandwiches.
Yes.
Do you see much more about the economic models being different? I know there's big variances, but
no, the top line sales are definitely higher than sandwiches, and I think just cold food in general, versus warm, hot food, you just have a higher AUV, higher average ticket. The costs are probably relatively the same. The food costs, the labor percentage, probably very similar to the sandwich business.
And from what I understand, you guys have really distinguished yourselves in the better burger category. For franchisees, they're able to open up, with less capital.
Yep.
It's not like a huge build out. And then also consumers, it's really all fresh, not frozen products. Could you elaborate more on kind of how you guys are differentiated for consumers as well as then for franchisees?
Well, as you said, we're in the better burger segment. We wanted to be the player on the investment side for a potential franchisee. We wanted to be the lowest cost, lowest point of entry in the better burger segment. We typically do our footprint is 16 to 1,800 square feet, where some of the other guys are 2,000, 2,200 square feet. So and even bigger. So that's a bigger initial outlay in equipment, construction costs, and ongoing heating, air conditioning, labor. And we felt we can do the type of revenue that we wanted to do out of a 16 to 1,800 square foot box. And that was also pre-delivery, which has added a whole nother revenue stream into the mix. So by also having that lower investment cost for the franchisee, we also wanted to position ourselves to the consumer as the lower cost when you're going out for a better burger, and not to break the bank.
Okay.
And we've been able to do that. So we position ourselves, we could go right across the street from one of our competitors, but be significantly less expensive. And the food costs will still remain the same as the competitor across the street. So we've really done well by positioning ourselves that way in the market.
And I'm sure in 2023, we're going to see, people are tightening wallets, where grocery store inflation and restaurant inflation, it goes like this, but now it seems like grocery stores are a little cheaper. So people still want to go out, but maybe they're not going to go out to one of your competitors, but they'll go out to Wayback.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
So COVID, I mean, you're in Connecticut. Down here in Miami Beach, we didn't really have it. Like it was like 6 weeks and everything was pretty much back open. But I imagine your franchisees had to adapt under your leadership, and you had mentioned the takeout component. How else did you guys adapt throughout the pandemic?
Well, I really have to give a ton of credit to our franchisees, because come 3 years ago, when everything shut down, now you're a business person and you're used to having 100 people in your restaurant the day before, and then you're told, doors are locked. And also had no idea if you opened up your doors, if you were going to get sick, or your employees were going to get sick, or your guests coming into the restaurant. So, that was very, very difficult and uncertain times for everybody. And, and the rules were changing county by county, town by town, whether you could let people in the restaurant, not let people in the restaurant, whether it was all takeout. So, as a business owner, it was very difficult, and our franchisees really weathered the storm it was probably the first 2 months until things evened out, about 6 weeks. And just, again, they did a terrific job. And we used to do an owner's call once a month. We were pretty much doing them almost daily with the franchisees for probably the first 6 weeks. And then after everything started to settle down somewhat, then it was once a week or maybe twice a week as the PPP information came out, and we could
that was a savior. Yeah. Talking to other franchise executives, like a lot of independent brands, they didn't get the first round that fast, or they didn't even get the second round, and
right, or they didn't know how to go about it, and didn't have
wasting time,
people helping them. Yeah, so that was another big lifeline, and and a big thing that we had to jump into to help franchisees do the paperwork, and trying to get online and get to a bank that was taking the application,
rush it.
Yeah, so but having delivery all set up prior to COVID and integrating with the POS system and online ordering for 8 or 9 years prior to COVID really set us up for a success. So we weren't scrambling to do that after the fact. We had all those things in place. Really just, that was seamless because we already had it, and it just took off. Having a mobile ordering app, and we were able to figure out how to do curbside pickup through the mobile ordering app. So it just everything worked great. We got through it, and the other thing that we really didn't have that some other people had were any major disruptions in our supply chain.
Very good.
We never got shorted beef. We never had to close any restaurants because we didn't have beef, or buns or any critical items. So
That's not bad. Even Chipotle didn't have rice for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. And it's funny when you think of the whole world economy shuts down and then people complain that I can't get rice or I can't get a brown paper bag. And it's, and that took a long time to get some of that.
Was that just like relationships with the vendors?
That's really what it was. And we did have one, minor hiccup with the beef, but through a relationship with a food broker that we've known for 30 something years, he got us up and running with a secondary supplier. And so we never missed a beef delivery to any of the restaurants.
And is it Wayback still owned by one family, or who owns Wayback?
It's privately owned. Two guys own it. We have 34 people here at the headquarters that work for the franchisor.
I'm sure that makes a difference because there's not, it's not like publicly traded where every quarter you have to report to Wall Street, or private equity where they're looking to flip the business in 4 years at the expense of franchisees sometimes.
Yeah. No, we're privately held. So that does definitely make a difference. And, any franchisee can get myself on the phone, can get John or Bill, who are the owners, on the phone. We really consider it when you become a franchisee. And it may sound, a little corny, but when you become a Wayback franchisee, you're becoming a partner with us, but you're really also becoming part of the family. We treat the franchisees as if they're, part of our family, just like we want them to treat the guests when they come in the restaurant as a family member or a guest coming into their house for a party. We want them to treat them just as well as they would a friends or a family coming to their home for a party.
So it seems like that may be, I was going to ask, what are the core values of the Wayback Burgers family? And it seems like that might be, the number one, treating guests as if it were your family.
Yeah. The people that come in the restaurant, we call them guests, not customers. As a franchisor, our franchisees are our only guest. So we have to treat you the same way we teach and coach you to treat the guests that come into the restaurant. With respect. We like to have fun too. We want you to have a great experience with us, whether you're a franchisee or whether you're a guest coming in getting a great cheeseburger and fries.
Very cool. Any other core values you see or items that you look for in franchisees too?
All in is another one. Very big on the team concept, whether it's franchising or really in business. I'm a big sports fan.
What are your teams?
The Mets, the Giants, the Knicks, and the Rangers.
Nice.
So all New York teams.
Yeah, I grew up going to Mets games.
Yeah.
Old Shea Stadium.
Yeah. Citi Field is much nicer.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm, a big believer in the team concept, and that, I think that translates to business, is that
Definitely.
You have to be, the only way to be
business
successful.
Is the game.
The only way to be successful is to, everybody has to be all in and have that team mentality and pulling for each other. And that's how you're going to win. And that's how we're going to win Burger Day. When somebody wants a burger that day, we want them to think of us. And, you all have to be going in the same direction. And that's people here at the Franchisee Support Center, the franchisees, their team members. Everybody has to have that same mindset. And
we were talking before we hit record, just like how franchisees get to know you. And it's like someone's friend was a franchisee, family member, a franchisee opened another location. So, growing word of mouth, like the cost acquisition is, significantly less, and you don't have to retrain the culture because at least they've learned some of the cultural component when they join the system.
Right. And it's nice to see as a potential franchisee, if you talk to somebody that said, oh yeah, I'm opening up my second location, my third location. And I bought this restaurant from the other guy who was retiring. Then they know, wow, you know what, if he's reinvesting in the brand and himself, he must be happy and he must be doing well. He must be making money. Yes. And there's got to be something there.
He has inside information because he sees it every day and he's living in it.
So we love to have those existing franchisees grow. And it's funny, we were just talking about it. We in March, every March we do regional business information meetings where we go out to the field, and we just concluded them. So the last one was in Atlanta, and we have a franchisee in Lansing, Michigan, and he couldn't make it. He and his wife couldn't make it, but they sent their children. And we were just talking about him about an hour ago. Their college, both of them were a son and daughter, and they were college age. And one of our regional directors of operations said, "I remember when that restaurant opened, and his kids were, little kids.
Oh, that's fun. That's
They
nice.
were like grade school kids." He said it was, amazing to see them, 10, 12 years later coming to the meeting representing their parents.
Well, I've seen with family businesses, people get a big leg up in entrepreneurship if they grew up in that environment, if they saw, what it's like managing payroll, marketing, whatever. Like, there's nothing like on the job training.
Right. And I mean, I think if your family members are, and if you grew up like that, then it's just kind of inbred in you that, hey, that's what I want to do. I'm going to go into maybe not the same brand as your parents, but you're going to want to get into a business of your own.
And at that point, you said for your brand, like, thankfully you're on the up where franchisees are reinvesting and they're opening up multiple units. But I was talking to someone that worked at a very large sandwich brand where one of their top multi-unit franchisees stopped opening more locations.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone looks at him and was like, oh, what's going on? He's not opening more. And since then, the brand has, like, basically you can track the unit count. Like, it's really in a downward trajectory. So
right.
It's so important that the franchisees because everyone looks up to them. Current franchisees will look up to them. Prospective franchisees will look up to them.
Right. I mean, we love new blood too coming in. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
they're going to look at the success stories of that franchisee that's now opening up his third.
Right. Yeah, we have and we typically start out as only awarding one franchise at a time. So now that we have, I think it's about 42% of the system are multi-unit franchisees. So that's growing over time.
That's great. And they're not like contractually obliged to do it where they're,
no.
Like, I talked to a franchisee in Massage Envy and like they had to open up a few.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to other franchisees of larger restaurant chains where they acquired 10 and they still had 7 left in the development agreement.
Right.
And they got killed opening those 7. And they're like, why did I do that?
Right. Right. Yeah. That's something we typically don't do.
It's definitely healthier. And also, like, you don't want to give like all of Orlando to someone that's not proven. Like, if you don't know if they're gonna,
they could ruin the market
optimize the Wayback Burgers culture and make money and be a good positive influence.
Right. One of the owners here says, and he's the chief development officer, and he always says, look, and you do have a fair amount of people. Oh, you know what? But I want to be the only franchisee in my area. I want to do multiple units. I want to, do 5, 6. That's what I want to do. That's you gotta grant me 5 or 6 licenses. And he said, look, we're all about growth.
Yeah.
But, we consider this like a marriage. And, let's date and we'll get married. And then if we're happy with each other, then we'll have another child together. And we'll be happy to do another restaurant with you. But let's do the first one. Let's get married first and see how that goes.
Yeah, I like that. And the term award, you're awarding.
Yeah, we're not selling because again, it has to work for both of us. If you're a person that comes to our discovery day and asks a lot of off the wall questions, or we're just not a fit, and we're also big into fundraising and giving back to the community. And if we get signals from you that's not what I don't want to give money back. I'm probably not a right fit for each other, and it's not going to work. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to be happy. We're not going to be happy. So, why bother doing this? We both have to get along. We both have to live together for a long time.
Yeah.
And
what's the contract? 10 years?
20 years.
20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we want people that are going to be happy with us, and we want people that we're going to be happy with, and we have that synergy. So yeah, that's why we call it awarding franchises and not selling franchises. We're not selling cars.
Exactly.
So
tell me a little bit like startup costs. How much does it cost to get into Wayback?
Total investment right now is about $600,000 to open up the doors, including your franchise fee, your construction to the restaurant, the equipment package, signage, inventory, and the refrigerator, everything all in investment.
you mentioned a bit of the square foot, where compared to some of the other better burger concepts that are above 2,000, you can be more in the 1,600, 1,800 square foot space. What's your ideal site look like?
Most of them are in shopping centers. We don't build anything from the ground up. We look for an end cap in a nice shopping center with other tenants that are going to drive traffic, a supermarket, a gym, also shopping centers that are easy to get in and out of. You can have a great tenant mix, but if you can't make a left-hand turn into that shopping center, can't make a left-hand turn if there's not a light, that's a factor. It's a 7-day-a-week business, so we're looking for residential, but also business in the area. That's going to drive your weekday lunch business. Nights and weekends are going to be done by residential. Although today, with people doing the hybrid work schedule, that's kind of changed a little bit of for some locations, it's changed the lunchtime business. And in other locations, it's changed it in a positive way. People working from home still have to eat, and they're not always eating lunch at home every day. House. Right. Yeah. And they may order for delivery for lunch. Huh. So that's been a, interesting change over the last couple of years with the workforce. And it doesn't seem like it's going to go back 100% to office buildings anytime soon.
You have JP Morgan that's mandating it for like their managing directors and trying to get everyone else on board. But right now, I mean, with unemployment the way it is, like employees can quit and get a job somewhere else. And once you get used to hybrid work, like it's a lifestyle. A lot of people like it. I personally like going to an office, but
so do I.
A lot of people they don't, and that's fine. And it's a hard habit to change back.
Yeah, I still come in every day. I said, I just couldn't work at home and live at home and be at home for 24 hours a day.
I think I only didn't go to the office for like 5 days. Because in Miami, we were allowed to, weren't really restrictions. So I was like, I'm getting out. I want to go on a walk and go to work. I know you're not down here in South Florida yet. I have to drive up next time I'm in Orlando, Daytona area, Titusville. But where do you guys want to be opening up? Like, are there any particular cities or states where you're like, a Wayback is going to kill it here?
Actually, the Southeast, we have a lot of growth in the Southeast and the Southwest. California right now. We're opening up our first restaurants in Utah, Arizona. We've never been in those states before, and they'll open up this year. There's another state that we've awarded a franchise in New Orleans. It really Wayback started in Delaware in 1991, and it kind of grew Delaware, Pennsylvania, and then moved the headquarters up to Connecticut. So that there's a large concentration of our restaurants in the Northeast, but the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, really growing. It's usually the two coasts grow out first, and then you start filling in the middle of the country.
I know in California they've targeted fast food restaurants, but I wonder if you guys have benefited, because I think it's above 500 units or above 1,000 units is the mandate.
No, I think it's above. It will affect us if that law goes into. Okay. I think it's above 100 or 50.
Oh, above 100. Okay.
But I really believe and hope that that's going to get voted down now that they did a referendum, I think, and so it has to go to the voters, where the legislature tried to push it through on their own. So I think it's going to be pushed off, and when it goes to a vote, I would think that the voters, the Restaurant Association, the International Franchise Association, they're all behind making a big effort to make sure that
I think the message just needs to be clear, like, where if the business isn't economically viable, franchisees won't open up multiple locations and they won't hire more people, and then people leave California like they already are, and it's a vicious circle.
It's just also not you're not having a level playing field so a guy that opens up an independent burger restaurant across the street from me doesn't have to comply with that law, and that's giving him a competitive advantage over me, and that's not fair.
And they're all independent business owners at the end of the day. Your franchisees, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations, but it's still a relatively small business.
Yeah, they're independent business owners, and sometimes the lawmakers don't understand. I don't think that they understand franchising sometimes.
No, but there's just someone that's like printing millions and millions of dollars.
Right. Yeah. Some of those legislations are a bit off the wall.
I meant to ask, what's the breakdown between delivery and takeout and dining?
Delivery right now is running probably 25% of our sales. So a big chunk. But I would tell you, probably for the most part, not to say that they'll never come into the restaurant, but a fair amount of them are delivery customers. So they're not getting off their couch. They're ordering for delivery, whether it's from Wayback or a pizza place or a steakhouse or a Chinese. That's what they do. Not to say that we don't try and get them, in every DoorDash and Uber bag. Yeah. We're putting something in that bag to give them an incentive to come into the restaurant or to order on our channels instead of ordering through the marketplace.
Where they take a big clip.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're very happy with the delivery because it's been really, for the most part, it's been incremental business.
Yeah, that's huge. So Patrick, you've been on the franchisee side, franchise development side, operations all over in a few different franchise organizations. Any advice for prospective franchisees or people that want to get in entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Number one, I would say, probably not just franchising, but if you like people and you like food, and you want to be in business, then look at the restaurant business. If you don't like people, you don't like food, but you like pets, you like dogs and cats, then look at a grooming franchise or something like that. Then you probably don't want to get into the restaurant business. I'm a big believer in that whatever you're going to do, you have to love what you do. You have to enjoy what you do. It's not your whole life, but it's going to be a big part of your life. So you have to do what you're happy with. And you really, you can't wake up in the morning and say, oh God, I got to go to work. Once you start doing that, then it's time to get out of whatever you're doing and to make a career change or a life change. Because it is such it's a big part of your life. So, that would be the number one thing. Decide on something that you're passionate about and that you enjoy doing. And then look down that path. In the franchising world, whatever system that you're looking at, go and talk to franchisees, visit them, see how they like what they're doing, how they like what their interaction is with the franchisor. If they're happy, and that's probably your best feedback, and to really, investigate and try the product. If it's a food product, see if you like it. If you don't like hamburgers, then probably don't get in the hamburger business.
No.
Yeah, and go into it with open eyes, ask a lot of questions, and have a passion for what you want to do.
Yeah, I think that passion can come from the industry and or like mentoring and people, and like getting really that because you love people, you love having them live their best selves, and the employees getting better. And I've heard a lot of restaurant entrepreneurs say they just love seeing the guests smile.
Yeah.
Like after like a nice meal, and that like really gets them going.
Right. And, and we have a franchisee here in Connecticut, and I was in his restaurant one day, and a guest came in and said, "Hey, do you remember?" And he was like, "Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while." And he brought his son or his daughter, I forget. And the franchisee said, "Oh my God, I remember you. I remember your dad coming in here and pushing you in a baby carriage. And what are you doing now?" And he said, "Oh, he just went off to college. He just came back for spring break or whatever." And so he's seen the generation growth of his guests, and that's that's a pretty neat thing. Also he just great guest service, customer service that he remembered. And he's like that with and for him, I think it's a kick. People come in and he was like, "Hey, Jim, I haven't seen you in such a long time. Where have you been? How's your wife doing?" And
it's a big difference.
So you just have that.
You're going to have a natural affinity to go back to that place because you felt better.
Yeah. And, and on the guest side, that's the kind of place that you want to visit and you want to frequent.
Boy.
It makes you feel like Norm from Cheers. That's the thing. We can teach you how to flip burgers and make milkshakes and make great French fries. I can't teach you to have a personality. I can't train you to be, I can kind of train you to be friendly, but if you're not friendly, if it's not within you, if that's not you, nobody's going to be able to teach you that. It has to be genuine. You have to be an outgoing person. You're not going to be able to be taught that. That's an inherent quality.
Well said. Yeah. I mean, looking at some of the great like restaurant and even convenience store chains like Wawa's, they do like $20 million. And it's just all about like making people feel welcome and being that community center.
Yeah.
And like they had a stat where like guests hold the door open like longer than other places compared to their customers, compared to their competitors. So it's like what you give from your franchisors to the franchisees to their customers is contagious.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think very few businesses like really understand that and execute on that. Well, Patrick, what's the best way for someone to get more information on Wayback if they're interested in becoming a franchisee?
Starting out, it would be to go to the Wayback Burgers website, waybackburgers.com. You'll see the franchising tab, but you'll also see all kinds of great food shots in our menu. Even if you don't want to become a franchisee and get information, maybe you'll become a guest in one of our restaurants.
Patrick, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for opening up too about your experience and all about Wayback as well as franchising. And again, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for the time, Patrick. Take care.